Hey, welcome back to the Weekly Word Outdoor Adventures. We're here in Athens, Tennessee. We've been walking around and looking at some of the old historic buildings here. This is my friends Neal and Sherry Trotter that have came down from Knoxville. They've been helping us do some research on this project about, started out with the last hanging in Athens. And that's what we're going to talk about here for a minute. But in our research, we learned that there was several jails here, like early in the 1800s. They just had a log structure in what's current Knight Park over there. And then after a few years, back to you looked it up, what year was it?
They built in 1851.
In 1851, they built a brick structure to replace the log structure. But then that lasted a few years and
prior to the Civil War.
Prior to the Civil War, so it looked like the little brick building didn't last too long. They made plans and they built a really nice one over here in what's this empty parking lot now. It was still the same jail that was here in 1946 when the Battle of Athens occurred. That can be another weekly word sometime. We're standing in front of the mural now that was like the only successful armed rebellion in the United States. And something that needed done when the GIs came back. But what got us started on this was we learned about the last hanging in Athens. And do you remember the guy's name, either one of you?
Beulah
McGee. Beulah McGee. Mm-hmm. And we read about that, and I thought for a while, I thought, they hung a woman? And well, then we come to find out that Beulah McGee was a man. And we found some of the records and stuff, and what happened is Beulah and a couple of his friends that were black guys, they were gambling with the white guy, and they apparently decided to rob the white guy, and the white guy ends up dead in the process. Mm-hmm. They tried to put him on the railroad track, hoping that the train would hit him. Somebody just thought that he got killed by a train, but they got caught. And they were actually, looked like all three of them sentenced to hang. But Beulah McGee was going to be the first one, and he confessed to doing it all. I don't know if he really did or if he just saving his friends, but he said, I did it all, they didn't do anything. And Governor Patterson paroled his two friends, but Beulah, they hung him here right around somewhere where we're standing here outside the jail in the courtyard. And that was the last hanging in Athens, because shortly after that, the state took them over. Then you had to go to Nashville to get hung. And later electric chair, and I guess today the injections and all that stuff. It's always controversial. You see this stuff right now in the news about the injections. It can be cruel and unusual or something. I've always thought, well, just go back to the firing squad. It's just as efficient as anything, I guess. But when I found out his name was Beulah, I thought, well, no wonder he was mean. It's kind of like being a boy named Sue. You know, you have to grow up tough, I guess. But anyhow, justice is not a pretty thing, but justice is a necessary thing. And even our good God, who's always kind, loving, and merciful, also has to be a God that practices justice. He couldn't just arbitrarily forgive our sins. That would have made him an unjust judge, because crime has to be punished, and God calls crime sin. And he did everything he could to keep us from having to have that justice from our own crimes and sins poured out upon us. He became a man in the person of Jesus and actually took the punishment upon himself. But he said, that's the kind and the loving and the merciful part. He gave us a way out. But then he's like, but if you don't accept that, you've rejected everything a good, kind, and loving and merciful God's done for you, and there's nothing left but to be punished for your own sins. I'd rather trust that God made a way of escape and that Jesus was punished for my sins, and he died and he rose again. But our good, kind, loving, merciful, and just God, though, left us as free moral agents, and he said, you can make that decision for yourself. I hope you make the right decision today, and maybe we'll go explore around town a little bit more. We're seeing some really nice old historic buildings that I've driven by my whole life here in Athens, and And they've got little placards on a lot of them, and some of them are, what, 200 years old? I guess we just looked at one up there that was the original railroad office that became the East Tennessee Railroad, but it's something even earlier, before the Hiwassee Railroad office, I think it was. But thanks for joining us on the Weekly Word. What, do you want to go explore a little bit more?
Yes.
Might as well.
Let's go do it. Let's go do it.
Okay.